All right, Jake, here's another episode of Comics That Influence. How are you doing today?
Good, Kurt. Good to see you again. If folks don't know, this is Jake and Kurt. We are a duo that is penciling and inking a sci-fi comic, but we have this other channel where we come in and we share some of our best picks from our personal collections, and we call it Comics That Influence. There's a lot of different styles, and when you're a creator, you really take it all in and you take the highlights and incorporate it into your work. It's inspiring. It's educational. And today, Kurt's going to be doing Glory from Image Comics, a rare Image comic from Kurt. And I'm going to be doing some sci-fi stuff from England. Kurt, you can start us off. First of all, though, do you when you finally edit these things down, they're going to be like full screen, right? Because right now
Yeah,
your thing is like, yeah, okay, great.
yep. All right. So, I yes, this is a very rare thing. Um, this is a image comic based on a character that Rob Liefeld put together that I got as for $1 on another group of comics I got on eBay. So anytime I'm buying comics on eBay, it might be one or two, but then to save on shipping, you kind of pack the box and get more for less. Um, this title, and he has another one called Riptide that I also have an issue one of. But I've been very much in my own personal work, especially with Crown the Barbarian revised edition that I'm working on. Um, Interested in comic book aesthetic, the look and appearance of the book. Now, yesterday and I think the day before, there's a two-part uh, um, series, mini series on Cartoonist Kayfabe, where Ed and Jim are reading an interview from the Comics Journal, where Hart D. Fisher interviews Rob Liefeld, and it is super good. It is super good. But the reason I want to go through this comic book as a comic book that influenced is based on this question. The amount of beating down Image Comics has taken since the mid 90s, let's say, Rob Liefeld in particular as a poster boy for Can't Draw Hands and Feet and poor storytelling and stuff. And this interview that Hart D. Fisher, who is a pretty
They You talking about Hartso? Is that his full name? Hartso Fisher? Is that the guy?
yeah,
Or that's
yeah.
somebody else? Yeah.
No, yeah, yeah, Hart D. Fisher. He the Boneyard Press.
Right.
Yeah. So he's very he's trying to dig into Rob. Now the context is this: that Rob has been thrown out of Image Comics. He's trying to scramble to get some things going. He had done some Marvel, the Captain America comic and everything. But my point, and what I want to talk with you about is, will Rob Liefeld as an artistic style ever come back in vogue? And the question I think has to kind of go to, this is not a Liefeld drawn book or even written book. Mike Deodato Jr., who I've been following on Instagram, based on some of his earlier stuff in Caliber Press. And he's Brazilian, and has really come a long way from the 80s till even still working on comics. And he's been able to move also through the stylistic aesthetic, if you will, of Image. So Joe Duffy writes the story. Mike Deodato Jr. is the artist, so he's doing the pencils and inks. and then we're getting the rest of the crew in Extreme Studios, which is Rob Liefeld. Um, I have a sneaky suspicion that if Rob Liefeld worked with somebody, and he says this, and I'm paraphrasing it to kind of lean towards a more positive way of looking at this work as artistic styling instead of just comic book storytelling. Um, if he was teamed up with a proper writer and artist, which I think this story kind of works on, he could. I think he could really weather out his own storm and hammer things down. I just think the tropes are too locked in.
So who's the artist here?
Mike Deodato Jr.
Right. Well, he's a name now, a big name now.
Yes,
What
yes, yes.
what
But
year is
he's
this? What year is
a
Glory from?
good point. 1995.
Yeah, it's a
So this
long
is
time ago.
still at that everybody wants to draw like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, and Rob Liefeld and Eric
And
Larson.
the overuse of colors and colored lighting, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
this is
there's no doubt about it that the coloring process was new, and it was a big selling point, and it put Image on the map. To have this kind of like, oh, it's colored, blue on the left, but it's colored right, it's colored red on the right, and then the regular colorings in the middle, and you can do all this stuff with Photoshop now. But then they overuse it again and again and again, and every single page looks
there's
like a cover.
yeah, there's no, definitely with the colors, there's no resting spot. So your attention is being divided constantly, and things that are bigger are cooler. It's kind of, once again, one of the things that are suggested. Those things that are bigger are cooler. These being hotter, but the interview really gets into him being this is 97, I believe, is when the interview was, and all this stuff had kind of come crumbling down around him, but he's still towing a passion for making comics and
Hmm.
wanting to, he says it, he would love to do something that felt like Bone. Was it Jeff Smith's Bone?
Right.
It would draw people in, and it would think. Now he's working against that. He's the poster boy of all those who had no talent per se, but were making $1 million an issue of a comic book. So it's a really tough a place to dynamically be in. But when I squint and I look with my own creative mind's eye more and more, I think there's so much uh, there that needs to get dealt with properly. In other words, instead of this glossing over and chucking it to the printer and getting it out there, there's so much more that could be investigated. I think there's a greater potential here than anybody's really seeing, other than the style, and it is sort of what I'm talking about, which is the aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I probably have some Glory in a box. I have a big box of Image that I haven't messed with for years or decades. They're just sitting in a box. And a lot of them I brought to school to just let the kids go crazy on them,
Sure,
because
sure.
they're colorful and everything. But nobody reads the story, and it's just like overwhelming glossy paper with color, and really, I mean, this is a little bit better than the average Image comic of the
Yeah,
time, where it's
yeah.
just pose downs, right? Like, we're going to just get to this part of the page where we pose like crazy, and my poses are going to be a lot more imposing than
But
your poses.
look, I mean, just look at this. This is a decent establishing and transition page. It has so much potential.
Well,
That's
I'm going to push back on that. Go ahead, finish.
um, but it's it. I think it's just the icing and the sweetness on top of it. It's very hard to get to the potential of it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was art directing this page, I would say the first two panels should be squeezed up to about a third of the page. Look at all that text you have down on the bottom.
Oh yeah,
The
move this
the
up.
Yeah, I mean, the first panel, there's really nothing there. It's just a sound effect
Eh,
and some stuff,
Splash.
And then the second panel, if you're gonna do an establishing shot, or a cityscape, come on. The sidewalk is just a grid. The gutter is spotless and blank and clear of anything.
Yes.
That's not how things look. Look at Jeff Darrow and see what a packed in city street looks like.
very,
There's no
very good point.
sign on the there's no sign on the store.
Right,
And
right.
then, and
Restaurant.
just it's just so much blank space, and that's the biggest panel on the page. That can
Right.
just be that could have been a vertical slat, that was just I mean, sorry, a horizontal slat that was just a fraction of that size. And then, let's get into this dialogue. I mean, people, if you're listening, read the dialogue and just try to extract what is the emotion that's going on, and then try to come up with some renderings of facial expressions and camera angles, that match the emotion of it, because that's where the drama is. That's where the story is being carried along. Not staring at an empty gutter and a one lamppost and one fire hydrant. Come on. you know where's all the meters? Where's all the people? Where's all the garbage with broken bottles? Where's the manhole cover? There's no garbage can, there's no mailbox. And I'm not saying you have to have such detailed backgrounds on every single page, but look at the opposite page too. So now we're inside, what is that, like an interior? It's like a bed. And so
Bedroom, yeah.
why is the furniture just like it looks like it's on the floor of a warehouse or something? Why is it all so spread out? Is that a room? Is that a real room where people live? Just things are too sparse. That's my complaint.
Right.
Too much standing around talking, and too much
But
sparse
you
panels.
can you agree that there is something to work with here?
Oh, absolutely. Go back to those
Right?
action pages. I mean,
Right, here we
that's
go.
when you
Yep.
yeah, that go back to the very, very beginning, right? In,
Right.
in in the action pages, you have, you know, here you got, lots of overlapping. You're leading the eye, you're breaking the panels up. This is action. You got sound effects. You have, poses. I mean, this is a double page spread with some panels interspersed in there. And go to the cover for a second, because 75% of the decision to buy a comic is based on the cover.
Yep.
Look at all this. You got the hair in every single direction, filling up every possible blank space. You have the title, above that. You got the bad guy, you got the splashing water, and everything is intertwined and interlocking. You have the blood and the gore, and you have these severe facial expressions. you know why can't the comic be like this all throughout?
I like this this cover a lot, and I did buy it straight up, not knowing what was going to be inside, just to throw a dollar and to
uh,
get it thrown into the eBay order. But I was also I was impressed. I had a lack of anticipation. There wasn't anything there that I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be good. Or I wasn't even coming at it like, oh, this is going to suck. I did feel like, wow, like there's a lot of potential here. If you got rid of all of the the color. If this was a black and white, okay, here you go. What if you took a Ken Landgraf approach to this? Like we have, oh, here you go. This is easy. Here we go. Like here we go. I'm talking aesthetics. Bing. So
Right.
what if you
Look at that.
what if you
Boom.
took
And
that
right,
kind of
the figures are smaller, but the page is action packed, especially that right side. I mean, when it comes to image, and image, they can be self-deprecating. They have splitting image, and they know, but what are all the image kind of like tropes here? So, you have the way the anatomy, right? Like if you would take this woman's legs on the lower left on that image count, right? If you would, right?
love it.
That's expressive art. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be foreshortening because of the camera angle, but it's just exaggerated. Her waist is like 10 inches, and her legs are like 40 feet long. And all that's good in art. I'm not saying don't do that,
Right,
but that's
right.
but image, the image house style. Look at the panel borders that look like they're just like black shreddings of ink or something, right?
Yeah.
That's an image thing, and then go back to those teeth on the page before, or else, yeah, or else you can look at that. See, the teeth have the colored shading on the left, and then the colored shading on the right. You could look at every one of this woman's legs. There's colored shading on the right, as if there's like these Hollywood, cameras with colored filters, everywhere. Um, and this bottom panel, she's posing, like she's going to, kick this monster's butt, and she looks real dramatic. But then when you get to the next page, you don't see the blow and the impact. You see her butt sticking out, right? Like Saint-Marie, or or
Yes,
something,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes,
so
yes.
and this isn't a bad page. You can see the teeth gnashing, and there's some action. On the right side, spend all your energy doing the hair. Like, let's put like every excruciating ounce of detail into the hair. That's something they do in Japan a lot. They'll like spend an hour drawing this incredibly shiny hair with lights and darks, and highlights and everything. But then when they draw the face, it's just two big bug eyes, and then they don't, and then the nose is like a little dot, and then the mouth is like a half of a line, like boop, right? So, you know, um, and these are all. I mean, this reminds me of Megalith, from Continuity Comics around the same time. Like, there's definitely some 80s, some definite 90s, looks here. And what makes it different is the way each artist draws anatomy, draws faces, integrates backgrounds and layouts, integrates composition wise. There is some very interesting things going on here with overlapping, right, and leading the eye. So but i'm
It's
sure i'm sure dear
buried. It's so buried. I think that's the thing. If I could send a message to Rob Liefeld, and if he wanted to be truly Jeff Smith, and do a bone like quality comic, he just needs to strip it all down and get into the basics and not worry about the hyperbolic effects and anything. I would love to see Rob Liefeld do just himself as a black and white comic. I think that's all he really needs to do in order to get himself reacclimated to the culture, if you will, of comics in an aesthetic, artistic way. I think that it's just now. Once again, this is not Rob's work, but Mike is working off of all of the hyperbolic frenzy that not only Rob has caused, but I see a ton of Mark Silvestri, Cyberforce in these pages. So you can't fault anybody here other than the fact that these guys are primarily responsible for inflating the market and then completely decompressing and depressing the market, and crushing it.
Yeah, well,
And
they definitely had their, they definitely had their heyday, and they made their money. Some of it was flash in the pan, but
mm,
you got Todd McFarlane. They talk about the rise of his empire and stuff.
yeah, well,
Um,
he doesn't have one. He doesn't have an empire right now. And I'm going to put a link to both the episode. Like it's in two pieces. The interview, Hart D. Fisher and Rob Liefeld from the Comics Journal that Cartoons Kayfabe put a little show on. Like Ed plays Hart D. Fisher and Jim plays Rob Liefeld. I'm this year going to be doing some variant uh, versions, interior variant versions of comics. And this is not on the top of my list, but I am very curious to see if I could not get some support from Rob Liefeld in maybe doing a variant black and white ink version of one of these, second run, second level tier characters that he had. Riptide was another one I'm interested in
yeah,
giving this treatment to. But I wanted to do just a, you know, I'm not hating, I'm not over criticizing the obvious. I really just wanted to look at this issue for the value of aesthetic, obviously in 1995. And will this come back? It's an open ended question. I'm not looking for you as answers or looking into a crystal ball, but will this become something that people will, just like good old good old Ken Landgraf
dollar bill.
and the underground boys and girls that do these outlaw comics on a
Yeah,
DIY will, nobody gave these guys any real love other than, being assistants in bigger name artist studios to make an actual living. But I just wanted to put it out there, and I'm going to keep people up to date through
yeah.
just the comics influence.
Yeah, people should. I mean, Kurt. Hopefully, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna email you an image right now. But if you really want to get a sense, so the Wikipedia says that that Mike Deodato got his first start in Innovation Comics doing a photorealistic adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. And I'm gonna send you the cover of it. You got to flash it in front here,
Okay.
and you
Okay.
you can see what he was doing before he switches over to the image house style, which he really did a good job of adapting to. The basics on him: he's born 1963 in Brazil. He's the son of a comic artist named Deodato Borges, who had a character named Flama. Um, he starts out in 93 doing Beauty and the Beast, a very photorealistic adaptation for Innovation. Then he jumps in, to Image within a couple of years doing Glory. Um, I guess, break for him. But he had already penciled Thor, and he had already penciled Wonder Woman in the intervening years. He was considered reminiscent of Jim Lee. Everybody was kind of following Jim Lee's lead. And then he changed back to his photorealistic style. He worked on The Incredible Hulk, written by Bruce Jones. Then he worked on Doctor Strange, Amazing Spider-Man, The New Avengers, The Thunderbolts. So he had a lot of work with Marvel. Secret Invasion years, 2010, Return to New Avengers, 2012, Penciler of the Avengers. This guy's done the top of the market, Astonishing X-Men in 2017, Infinity Wars 2018. So it sounds like he had his Image time, and then he sounds like he's really settled in with Marvel. Um, the latest entry here in 2020, he and writer Michael Straczynski started a series called The Resistance, and there was a publisher called Upshot, and there was an imprint, and so it sounds like he's going back to indies. Maybe you get a little more control and a little more creator rights, but this guy is a Marvel pro. Back and forth between Marvel and Image, a little bit of DC. Very, very capable guy. And with Image, what we're seeing right here is just his Image style. And he was conforming to the Jim Lee and the Image, things. But interesting guy, and a lot of artists can do that. You can be a chameleon and have one style for one client and one style for another audience. So let it all go back and forth. But yeah, if you see this graphic I'm sending you from Beauty and the Beast #4 from Innovation, it looks a lot more indie, but it also looks a lot more, I guess, individual. It looks more like his style as opposed to the Image House style. Interesting selection today by Kurt. You guys are not going to see too many Image comics from Kurt.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Just wanted to pose that question, and in the comments, take a moment and give us your evaluation on the aesthetic value of the Image Boys back in the, let's say, 94,
Yes.
95 times. Like, is it
When
going
I
to
get
come
an
back?
Image comic,
Is it going to come back? And everything does cycle. Everything does cycle in this universe. So I might be making a prediction here.
yeah, I mean, Image influenced all the Marvel and DC artists that came after it in some ways. Different people, different levels, but and Marvel had to adapt because they were losing all their big name people, and they realized that people have the ability to strike out and do stuff on their own. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation, interesting debate. So let's minimize this and expand mine. So I'm going to be showing today Cyber Crush. I also picked these up in dollar bins, and I was interested because I love robots. I have some robot characters and robot ideas. There's robots in Turbo Pit Fighter, and there's going to be robots all around the timeline. So I picked these up in, these are bagged and boarded, so I didn't know what was inside at all. I noticed that this had a Jim Balent cover, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And I noticed this was a #2, Cyber Crush Robots in Revolt. And so I just opened it up for the first time ever. And I noticed as soon as I opened it up that this is Robusters. This is just a reprint of a UK title, which I have seen before. I have an oversized graphic novel, or or like prestige format, maybe of Robusters, and there's Sam Slade Robo Hunter, who we're gonna see. So apparently, this Cyber Crush Robots in Revolt, Humans Beware, with an original Jim Balent cover, is just the packaging for the British Robusters, which we're going to pop. We're going to pop up here and take a little dive into. The UK distributor is Comag Limited, but this is published by SQP Incorporated, which they don't mention. SQP is the British publisher, but over here it says Fleetway Quality, so that is the American imprint, Fleetway Publications, or it might be London based, but they use that here. Because if they would have mentioned SQP, I would have said, "Oh, I know those guys." So I'm still learning. Here we can see that the page size has been adapted for the U.S. comic format. There's also this weird scratchiness about the style. I think this is reproduced from a printed color comic.
Wow.
I'm just guessing there, but the way all of this texture is here, it's weird. And some of the black and white looks scratchy. Um, even the black, it's not the darkest black, which suggests to me that they might have photographed it, and so then you have CMYK in the black. Um, so that's just a little format stuff here. But let's talk about the art, the layout. They have some battles here, but you can see humans and big machines. There's a lot of detail on the robots, which is cool. I love the chrome effect. I wish there was more of it. I love chrome. I love doing chrome. It's a challenge, but it also looks cool. I like Robert Williams chrome from the Underground comics, from Zap Comics.
Yeah.
Best of all, I wish there was that kind of chrome. But but I'm always disappointed and distracted when I see this big waste of space. If you add up this inch here and this inch here, that's 2 inches.
Because it was
Out of
originally printed in a magazine.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so, that print it over here in the same format, I don't know, that's just me. Um so yeah, these are like this is like if Sergeant Rock was fighting robots, right? You can see these traditional military guys and they have guns. Um I'm not sure if the robots are on their side. They call this Robo Wars. So, maybe there is a cool story to it. But you have these like droid looking people. I mean, this almost literally looks like R2D2 and C3PO here. And then this guy with the chomping the cigar. He looks just like Sergeant Rock or Nick or Sergeant Fury or whatever. Uh, the snow is cool. I like the snow here, but we're not getting too much variance here. Of robots and soldiers just going back and forth. Soldiers, robots. See what I mean here about the black? Like, I'm not sure that this originally prints like this. I'm not sure the original artist draws like this. I'm not, to me, this seems like a second generation. Whenever I see these UK comics, it always looks like a second generation to me. Here is
like
a
paler.
Yeah. Well, it's paler, scratchier. It's texturized. And it's different. It's distinctively different from U.S. comics. Here is Robo Hunter, Sam Slade, the Robo Hunter. Here we got some big splash panels, and this naked guy. I'm sure there's some story here. Look, this is cool. The humans are being dragged, and they're being like their heads are being captured by this conveyor belt thing. This baby is in diapers. He's walking around. This doesn't really capture me. Sam Slade Rover Hunter doesn't really capture me. I see the action here, but I'm not reading it all. I'm not interested in this little kid. I don't know. They're missing me. So I thought I was going to be reading Cyber Crush comics, and I end up reading Sam Slade Robo Hunter. You have to wonder why they're hiding the actual title of the actual story in these comics and calling it Fleetway Quality.
Grab that buck. They're just putting
Grab that
out
buck.
there
So
this was
number 2. When we get to number 4, it's more of the same. The ads here: Judge Dredd, Dare the Impossible, and Cyber Crush. These are the titles that are coming out, and this, by the way, is what year did we say? Doesn't have the year. Could that be? I'm not sure what year this is, honestly.
Wow.
So
the other ones have dates on them?
No, well, we'll see when we get to the next one. So they're just reprinting stuff. This is probably stuff that's been put out, long before here. I've had Robusters before. Some of it's cool if you like seeing just like, machinery and guns and battles and stuff. there's not too many characters that really draw you in. This is interesting with the big size robots, right? Or the mecha, because then they're like towering over these cities. They call them the Terra mechs, I guess. Um, and there's some story here, but this is just a shorty. And then here's this little character, this little guy back again with Sam Slade, Robo Hunter. Um, Sometimes it gets a little cartoony. Yeah, they're. I mean, this is just continuing the saga. So they're just importing stuff, and I don't know. Does it? Did it ever make a dent on your radar?
No,
Sam
the only
Slade, Robo
thing,
Hunter.
no, no. Slane. I was always a Slane fan if I saw it, which was kind of rare, other than when it got into heavy metal.
I mean, one thing that's interesting is that here the script is Pat Mills, and the art is Mike White. Um, these are probably Brits that are doing the stuff here. The art is this Gibson guy, Ian Gibson. But when we get to I guess I'm going out of order. I should do 10 first. But this is a great painted cover. This makes you think this is going to be some cool sci-fi stuff, not just reprints. Still no year here. Although this thing is in perfect condition, I don't think it's ever been read. More of the same. Look at this bright yellow here on this page. All these shiny robots. I've seen Robo Hunters that were not Robusters rather that were not colored. I don't think the color was added just for this though. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think this stuff appears in black and white over in England. Sam Slade, Robo Hunter again. Same kind of deal. And then one thing that I noticed interesting when we get to number 14 here, and they're talking about backlist Bonanza, Third World War. I haven't seen any of these comics. The New Statesman. And I'm still trying to find a year somewhere. Judge Dredd was their big seller in SQP, right? And here they're promoting the Enforcers, a new series in the tradition of Dredd Rules. Not even a picture. When we get to number 14, though, and this looks like a Jim Balin cover to me. I don't know. It's not credited, but I'm just guessing. Here it says that the script is done by Alan Moore. Yeah, and the art is done by 80s. Steve Dillon. Right. This looks a little different, and it looks even worse quality. It looks like even a worse reproduction. Like we're going backwards in quality, right? Like this is the dead giveaway right here. If this guy's coat was a screen, like a Zipatone screen, and then they're reproducing it, this is what you get. You get the moire pattern. It picks up, here too in some of these backgrounds. So this looks like this was just photographing the printed final piece, and you end up getting these very awkward kind of interference designs. This art looks pretty interesting. I like that shot here, but it's just robots doing mischief. And here we're actually getting a Judge Dredd story right in the middle here. So these are like robot anthologies of SQP comics. See, now this looks a little more exciting, right? This is the usual Judge Dredd stuff. But this was drawn by Gibson, the Sam Slade Robo Hunter guy. And these are just short, like 5-pagers. And this looks completely cartoony. This is Ian Gibson. So yeah, I'm gonna do a thumbs down on this. This is not really influencing me, but I love the covers and I love robot stories. So I got pulled in, and I did a Geraldo's Vault here, unveiling these comics. Look, even look how the quality even goes downhill, even on these Sam Slade things. I mean, the one good thing about these comics is that these pages are packed in, and when it comes to robots and backgrounds, they're not skimping on detail. They're not skimping. But then, when you get to this might be a little bit later in the game. Starting to see some like emptier areas, and it's really sparse. It's drawn cartoony. And then look at this. It's like, all right, we're just gonna do shiny lines here, shiny lines there. Let's waste some space. Maybe they're on a deadline, but shiny lines can really be a cop out sometimes. Look at this. Come on. This is just dead area. We're just, I mean, you got a guy here firing a machine gun into somebody. Why would you just waste it all with this? The guy, at least do some like arg, something. Gosh. So, not loving it. Yeah, this is the last time I get some SQP stuff, and I'm gonna look a little askance at Fleetway quality from here on out. Look, this is what I was hoping for. Like,
Right.
look at this
Right.
beautiful stuff. Yeah, this Battle Maiden all dressed up in chrome. Can we get some insides like that? Time Killers, the best of illustrated British science fiction, coming this fall from Fleetway Quality, a new science fiction anthology title featuring cutting-edge cybersmiths constructing tales of twisted time and seriously warped space. 32-page deluxe format hard copy, fully functional 4-color. Cover artwork by the airbrush team of Steve Fassner and Rich Larson. Okay, yeah, give me the insides from those guys, and then we'll talk. Meantime,
All right.
I'm going to close the book on Cyber Crush. I might not even I might even repurpose my bags and boards. How about that?
Yeah.
That's my report, Kurt.
All right. Well, a very interesting one as an episode. I think we were riding high for the last couple of episodes where, we were really finding some treasures, if you will. But, this is life. Yeah, you're ups and your downs. All right, Jake.
Folks, tune in next time because we're really, hit or miss with some of these things. We did this one last week. Some of these things, we don't know what's inside. I never looked inside these. I never opened them. And if we're doing it live on the air, then we're doing it together. We rise and fall together.
So yeah, and I got a sweet deal. The first 9 Kamuis, and I literally got them for $1 a piece, including shipping, off of eBay. So I'm gonna be busting into these beauties and definitely showing them off. Probably the next time we get together for comics that influence. So, but other than that,
one Kamui. Yeah.
That's
all right.
That's what we've got.
See you guys next time, folks.